It's a public health issue. Teen pregnancy. If black folks' kids get pregnant, it's the morals. You're just degenerates. Sarah Palin's daughter gets pregnant. Oh, well, it can happen to anybody there. Moving right along. Well, now we're moving on to mass shootings here. And lo and behold, I wonder what Matt's got to say here. Of course, I already know.
Very interesting story. And one of the things that makes it interesting is that it's one of the few current events with huge implications that where the political sides are not exactly clear. Like this one is not really, the political teams aren't clear, you know, and that doesn't happen very often. So here's it is.
The political teams aren't clear. Well, I thought the country was so polarized. It was all so clear before now. Now he's telling you, wait a minute. He's in code speak now. Wait a minute. As white people, we're all in this together now. We can't choose political sides on this. The political sides are not clear. We got to come together now. We have to understand what this means. We got to understand what this means. Jason, he ain't saying nothing about black folk here. Okay, you know what? You're right. Let's give him a chance to make his case.
ABC News has a report. A jury has found Jennifer Crumbley, the mother of Michigan school shooter Ethan Crumbley, guilty of involuntary manslaughter in connection with the shooting deaths of 4 students at Oxford High School in November of 2021. Crumbley was found guilty of 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter in connection with the shooting, 1 for each victim: Madison Baldwin, Tate Meyer, Justin Schilling, and Hannah St. Juliana. The jury deliberated for roughly 11 hours. Jennifer and James Crumbley are a rare case of parents being charged in connection with a shooting carried out by their son. James Crumbley, who also faces 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, will have a separate trial in March. And so they're going to jail for the fact that their son committed a school shooting. Now, so this is a very important case, and I think that. It's obviously getting some attention. I think it's actually getting more attention than it is. And I'm not sure if everybody quite grasps just how vast the implications are. Because this is really an unprecedented moment in the history of the American legal system. The article said it's a rare case where the parent of a school shooter is charged. I'm pretty sure it's the first case.
Oh, really? Matt. Oh, really? I'm pretty sure that this is the first case. Well, that was interesting because you see, when I heard all of this, I said, well, you know what? Actually, I've seen this before. Remember this? Jason, why are you yelling it? Because nobody else is telling it. Shout out to the DOC. You all remember this case here? Oh no! All the alt-right people and white supremacists. No! You coming back over here? Remember this case? A 6-year-old. 6. He shot the teacher. They came and got his mother. And just last year. Here, hold these 2 years in prison. Remember this? I wanted to make sure that I got an article that showed the mother's face because there was ambiguity at the beginning about the 6-year-old. I was like, in the beginning, I was like, that's why you all didn't hear me say anything. I never made an assumption about nothing. I was like, okay, let me find out about the kid here because I got a feeling they're going to try to leverage this. Well, guess what? Remember this one? Oh, yes, 6-year-old shot the teacher. They tried to figure out how do we charge him. Can we lock him up for life? Can we charge him as an adult? Damn it, 6 years old. That's okay. Immediately went and grabbed his mama. Immediately told her, oh, don't worry, you're coming with us. No ABC News legal analyst had to go over this. Nobody was saying nothing. Matt Walsh wasn't wringing his hands. Where was Matt Walsh to wring his hands about this? As soon as they go and charge a white woman, all of a sudden, I'm sure this is the first time. Fortunately for Matt, he's got me here to clarify that for him, because while he was sitting around probably doing celebration dances, I'm like, by the way, y'all know they just arrested the kid's mother. Well, we can't charge him. Well, you all are the ones who usually want to put handcuffs on little kids when they're black. Now you're like, damn, he's too young to really charge with murder or attempted murder. Let's go grab his mom. Somebody gonna pay for this. Now all of a sudden they grabbed some white parents and said, okay, well, what's good with the goose is good with the gander. Go ahead and grab her. All of a sudden, Matt wants I think this is the first time we've seen this happen. No, Matt, actually we've seen this before. Actually, we've seen this before, and that case is not the only one, by the way. There are others. That's not the only one. There are others. But I just thought we'd refresh your memories here. I know we're moving real quick here. We're only 20 minutes in. We've covered a whole lot of ground. Matt's got some more crying and complaining to do here, though.
So the implications are? Because this is really an unprecedented moment in the history of the American legal system. The article said this is a rare case where the parent of a school shooter is charged. I'm pretty sure it's the first case. So a new precedent is being set. There's a new precedent being set here. And I think the precedent is troubling.
This is not a new precedent. They've been doing this to black folk forever here. So he's troubled by this happening to one white family. Having the black folk, he was never troubled. Not before now. That means it's happening to white folk.
I think it's quite troubling. Now, listen, Jennifer Crumbley and her husband, by all accounts, based on everything we heard in the trial, based on everything we've seen, not to mention, obviously, just based on the fact of what their son did. So based on all that, we can establish beyond any reasonable doubt that these are bad parents. Of course, they failed in spectacular fashion in their basic parenting duties. They were not, just to call them bad parents would be an understatement, and there's no denying, no disputing. I certainly don't dispute it, and that's why, on a visceral, emotional level, I understand the people that are cheering this verdict. And from what I've seen anecdotally, I don't know what the surveys would say. What I've seen anecdotally just on social media, it seems like most of the people who reacted to the story and the verdict yesterday are in favor of it.
Okay, so you see Matt, boy, he's trying to figure out how to thread this needle. He's trying to figure out how to do that because he's like, boy, I'm telling you here, how do we make that happen? How do we make this happen here? How do I address the indefensible and at the same time remind white folk, hey, we might be putting ourselves behind the 8 ball here. We might be putting ourselves behind the 8 ball. So how do you straighten that out, man? Put everybody on notice and let them know, hey, hold on a second here. They done grab some white folk and treating them like them Negroes. How you gonna make the parents responsible for something the kids did? Okay, they do it to black folk all the time. Yeah, but we're white. Well, it wasn't bothering you before. Yeah, but we're white.
Certainly, there's a lot of people who are happy about the verdict. And if I'm being guided purely by my feelings of disgust towards parents who apparently didn't even attempt to do their job as parents, then, and I'm being guided by that, then I would say, hell yeah, go rot in prison. You deserve it. And if I was, God forbid, I was a parent who lost a child in a circumstance like this, even more, I would probably want the parents to suffer for their failures as parents. So I get all that. And I have no interest in defending the parenting job that these two people did. There's no defending it. And I would also say that it seems clear to me that it is at least partially their fault that their son went off and murdered innocent people.
Do y'all hear the splaining? Look at the stuttering. Take a look at all the milling around. Do you hear the splaining going on here? I mean, Matt is tormented because he can't really say what he wants to say, but he's trying to nibble around the edges because he knows if he goes straight for it, this is going to be replayed on Twitter by all the folks who don't like him and whatnot. So he's flaming his ass off to try to set the template and set the narrative. Well, I understand. And if it were me, I'd be just let him go ahead and rot and suffer here, you know. And his parents are, at least partially responsible. Partially. Boy, I'm telling you, he's trying to thread this needle heavy. He's trying to thread it heavy.
So if you're blaming them, at least partially for what happened, I think that makes sense. Yeah, I think they are at least partially to blame. All of that is true.
He keeps throwing that partially in there, Matt. You're not doing yourself any favors right now. Read the room, fella. You need to read the room a little bit better, but there's a point he's trying to make.
At least partially their fault that their son went off and murdered innocent people. So if you're blaming them, at least partially for what happened, I think that makes sense. Yeah, I think they are at least partially to blame. All of that is true. However, with all of that said, I just have extreme reservations about it. And I'll give you.
However, with all that said, however is another way of saying but. And we all know what but means. But neutralizes everything that was said before. So he said all that and then said, however. So he was real timid and real scared to get to that however, because he knows, boy, this isn't going to go over well at all. But he's got to let the rest of the society know exactly what the issue is.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think they are at least partially to blame. All of that is true. However, with all of that said, I just have extreme reservations about it. And I'll give you two things to think about here. First of all, the prosecutor's case, even though it was ultimately successful, he prevailed. But really, the case that the state was making here, it makes no logical sense. And there are a few reasons for that, but the main one, the big one in my mind, is that they charged Ethan Crumbley, the shooter, as an adult. Right? Now, why is that significant? Well, because in charging him as an adult, and he committed the crime when he was, I think, 15. But they charged him as an adult, and I agree with that. I agree with charging as an adult for a crime like this. Now, 15 is not an adult, but for a crime like this, I think you have to. It's like, what else are you going to do? Send him to juvenile detention and let him out in 5 years? Like, you can't do that. So I agree with the move. I think it's the right move in this case. And if you have someone even at 15 who commits a crime of this sort, well, they just have to go away forever. There's no way that you could ever, we cannot contemplate a future where someone who murdered, who's committed mass murder is walking free.
Okay, now did you hear what he just said there? That he stumbled because there's actually a phrase he's supposed to use that we all know what the word is, and he deliberately evades using the word. Let me go back and play it here.
And if you have someone even at 15 who commits a crime of this sort, well, they just have to go away forever. There's no way that you could ever, we cannot contemplate a future.
Okay, there's no way that he could ever, the phrase is ever be rehabilitated. But you notice that he avoids using that phrase. Well, this is the phrase that we always use with young people, youth offenders. I mean, what you're saying is you're writing off the ability to rehabilitate him, but he's not going to use those words. That this young white kid cannot be rehabilitated. He's smart enough to know he doesn't want to set that precedent of using that phrase that a young white child could be unable to be rehabilitated. Even though he knows full well what the sentence is supposed to be and what the phrase is supposed to be. As I said, folks, I want you to understand, this is major, super major for these people. to have to sit here and look at white people and white parents and tell people they cannot be rehabilitated. They understand the dangers of putting that thought into the national consciousness. That he's using his platform of millions to show the faces and the images of white people and white children, and then to say they cannot be rehabilitated. Now, if these were black teenagers, he would go straight to it. If these were black children, he'd go straight to it. But in this situation, he makes sure not to say that phrase because that's a phrase that is used in common commerce of vocabulary in legal circles. Does he really want to use his platform of millions to show white people, white families, white mothers, white fathers with their white kids and say, lock them up, throw away the key, they cannot be rehabilitated. He's 15 years old and unable to be rehabilitated. Write him off now. What he's done is too heinous. He write him off right now. And that's why I'm pointing out to you to let you all see. By the way, do you see how his wording and everything is tortured over this? All this tortured language he's using. A guy who's usually pretty eloquent and pretty straightforward, and now he's groping and searching for terms because he can't say what he really wants to say.
I agree with the move. I think it's the right move in this case.
You don't sound like it.
Someone even at 15 who commits a crime of this sort, well, they just have to go away forever. There's no way that you could ever, we cannot contemplate a future where someone who murdered, who's committed mass murder is walking free. If you're like me, there's not a day that goes by.
Okay, now he's going to a commercial break, but I'm going to skip forward here. I'm going to skip forward to the 9.5 minute mark, and I want to set it up for when it gets to the next part. I want to set it up for when it gets there. So I'm going to go forward to the 9 minute mark, and I want you to hear this next part. Very important.
This is really the biggest issue. Is what is the limiting principle? We all agree that the Crumblies were bad parents. And I think we all agree that if they were better parents, probably this crime never would have been committed. We can't say that for sure because people are, even a kid is like their own human being with their own mind. And you know, it's plausible that you can be a perfect parent, basically, and still end up with a kid who does something horrible. It's unlikely, but it could happen.
Interesting, Matt. Boy, don't y'all see how he's throwing all these qualifiers and all these scenarios out here? Boy, I mean, he's trying to soft pedal this as much as he can.
It's plausible that you can be a perfect parent, basically, and still end up with a kid who does something horrible. It's unlikely, but it could happen.
So the Crumblies were perfect parents? Okay.
Perfect parent, basically, and still end up with a kid who does something horrible. It's unlikely, but it could happen. So, but probably if they'd been better parents, this wouldn't happen. But that same argument applies just as well to many thousands of parents who are still walking free today. I mean, it stands to reason that a large majority of the violent criminals in prison right now have parents who were at least as negligent and incompetent and disinterested as.
Am I the only one who detects that he's using some different phraseology here that ain't got a damn thing to do with what he's talking about? Am I the only one who detects a turn in the terminology and vocabulary he's using? Am I the only one who detects that? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's not making a turn in vocabulary here and starting to turn into another direction about something. So maybe I'm in error about that. So let's go ahead and let him finish talking.
So, but probably if they'd been better parents, this wouldn't happen. But that same argument applies just as well to many thousands of parents who are still walking free today. I mean, it stands to reason that a large majority of the violent criminals in prison right now have parents who were at least as negligent and incompetent and disinterested as the Crumblies were. So put it another way, as a percentage, how many mass murderers, serial killers, and gangbangers do you think had good, attentive parents? Like, does anyone think that it's more than 10%?
Mass killers and gangbangers. What? Yeah. Oh, so my Humpty ears don't deceive me. Yeah, we talking about white parents and a white fuel phenomena. And as soon as it's time to start talking about expanding the laws to prosecute white people more, all of a sudden, wait now, you can't do that now. What about all them black folks out there? Why are we not doing that over there? So much for personal accountability. So we go from talking about mass shooters in a school who the parents gave them weapons to so-called gangbangers, whoever the hell that is, who steal weapons or get them procure the weapons on their own. They don't get them from their parents. Now he's talking about parental negligence. The negligence here was the mom and dad bought the damn gun and gave it to him. So instead of focusing on them, wait now, as I said from the beginning, he can't say what he actually wants to say, which is, wait a minute, we can't sit up here and go locking up a bunch of white parents. We can't do that. I mean, you do that to the Negroes. We don't lock up a bunch of white parents. You're setting the precedent that we can lock up white parents. You all know the dog whistle. Wait now, change of subject. What about all the black folks committing all these crimes out here? What about them? Well, they're already in jail. Yeah, but what about the parents? This isn't the same thing. The parents didn't buy them weapons. The situation, the scenario you just named, gang members, the parents aren't buying them weapons. Yeah, but negligence. Dude, this isn't even the same thing. So I just wanted you all to see that I was detecting there that his speech and terminology was starting to seem to make a turn in a direction. It was starting to turn off in a direction. And sure enough, yeah, we were right.
Applies just as well to many thousands of parents who are still walking free today. I mean, it stands to reason that a large majority of the violent criminals in prison right now have parents who were at least as negligent and incompetent and disinterested as the Crumblies were. So put it another way, as a percentage, how many mass murderers, serial killers, and gangbangers do you think had good, attentive parents?
Racist dog whistle language. Racist dog whistle. So finally he gets to the point of letting you know that he's talking to the white people of his audience. That's the majority of them. He's letting the white people know, hey, they treat the Negroes keep in contact with the black folk here now. Do we really want to go after white folk like this? Or the black folk, we supposed to do that? Do we really want to do this? So now he's putting the white listeners on notice that, hey, wait a minute now. They're trying to go after us. Wait a minute.
Like, does anyone think that it's more than 10%? I mean, serial killers and gangbangers. So put it another way, as a percentage, how many mass murderers, serial killers, and gangbangers do you think had good, attentive parents? Like, does anyone think that it's more than 10%? I mean, 10% is an extremely generous estimate. It's pretty obvious that like the armed robber who is walking into a gas station in some city as we speak right now, stealing everything from the register, and then maybe shooting the cashier just for the sake of it on the way out the door. It's pretty obvious that that person almost certainly has parents who, at best, were negligent. Most likely the father is completely absent, so that's total 100% negligence. And the mother is just not interested in doing anything that could be described as actually mothering her child.
Okay, but that we're talking about an adult here. They are not under the guardianship or control of their parents. It's not about, quote, negligence. This is negligence of a minor who is under your supervision. A grown man is not under his parents' supervision. So do you see how far he's stretching to send the dog whistle to white society? Hey, do you really want them doing this with us? And yes, armed robber, yet another racist dog whistle. So he's letting you know, oh, he's scared as hell hearing this. He is scared as hell.
So my question is, are we charging all of those parents too? Are we going to round up hundreds of thousands of parents potentially and charge?
Are we rounding up the Negroes? Are we going to do that to them? Total lack of accountability.
100% negligence. And the mother is just not interested in doing anything that could be described as actually mothering her child. So my question is, are we charging all of those parents too? Are we going to round up hundreds of thousands of parents potentially and charge them for their failures? Their failure to do anything at all to prevent their children from becoming violent criminals? I mean, just imagine a lot of these violent criminals in the inner city. Like, imagine what their home life is like.
So once again, just in case you all thought that was just one reference or Jason, you cherry-picked one thing. Here he's back again. He's going out of his way not to say black. He's saying black with every other typical alternative pronoun other than saying the word black. Gangbangers, armed robber, inner city. Which has nothing to do with Ethan Crumley because he was none of the above. The Ethan Crumley and Jennifer Crumley, that case was involving none of the above. This ain't got a damn thing to do with black folk, and yet you see he's drug us into it. Something that has nothing to do with us, except it has everything to do with us, because in America, if you want to make something criminalized, say, well, black folk are getting away with it. And if you want to make something prohibited, if you want to prohibit something, say black folk are getting away with it. And if you want to make something in favor, say that this will punish black people. This will hurt black people? Okay, make it legal. Oh, black folk are getting away with something. Oh, make it illegal. So what he's telling you is that, well, he wants to make it where you don't charge white folk. We'll tell him that black folk are getting away with it. Ooh, better stop doing what we're doing. Better stop doing what we do. Black folk are getting away with it. We better stop doing what we're doing. We better stop doing that. We can't be treating white folk like black folk. Stop doing that. So he knows the script. He knows the script. The 720 degrees of analysis you receive absolutely nowhere else. And this is why Google got to pay reparations too. They got to pay reparations too. Because they've given him almost 3 million subscribers while suppressing our channels. So he can sit up here and say stuff like this. Complete and total lies. At least let us go ahead and have our audience so we can go ahead and counter that properly and show the logical fallacies and the dishonesty of these individuals. We can go ahead and do that. What he's doing here, you can see what the hell's going on. He's gone out of his way in the last 3 minutes to avoid saying the word black. He's referencing black people in every way except saying the word, but everybody gets the point. Well, what about the inner city? They ain't got a damn thing to do with the Crumleys. Yeah, but let's talk about that anyway. I mean, if you're going to lock white folk up, what about these black folk out here? It's not the same thing. These are not children, and their parents didn't give them a weapon. Yeah, but black. So this is what we're dealing with.
Failure to do anything at all to prevent their children from becoming violent criminals? I mean, just imagine a lot of these violent criminals in the inner city. Like, imagine what their home life is like. Imagine what kind of parenting is being done here. Some people don't have to imagine it because they've seen this kind of thing firsthand. And you know, it's the kind of parent, it's like very easy. You can see the way the child's parented, and you go, well, like, yeah, of course, that kid's going to end up being a criminal. And yet we never go back to the parents and charge them when the inevitable occurs.
Really, Matt? Because, by the way, we've been doing that. We've been doing that. I'm sitting up here showing you evidence in real time, and this is just one case. We've been doing that. Matt is having a shock to the system because he's like, wait a minute, we supposed to do that to the Negroes. You don't sit here and expand the laws to go after white people. You take the... Here's the issue that he has. The overwhelming majority of school shooters are white kids. So therefore, because this is the abstract way in which the justice system, the court system targets black people, what you're seeing is the court system basically taking a crime that is disproportionately committed by whites and saying, now we're going to ultra-criminalize it. You know what you've done to black folk all this time. We're now going to ultra-criminalize it. And he's like, wait a minute. Well, you can't say it's along racial lines, Matt. Because you can't say that the system, the prison system doesn't target black people, so you can't say that this is racial. This is a white family. Black folk ain't got nothing to do with this, so you can't claim that there's some discrimination. So he's giving all the language that they're being discriminated against, even though there's no discrimination whatsoever. This is the tactic they've been using against us forever. Find something that black people do in disproportionate numbers and ultra-criminalize it. Target it. Focus on that. Hand out stiff sentences. Expand culpability and liability to arrest anyone and everyone and give them excessive sentences also. Well, now they've turned it on you. Hey, here's a crime that is disproportionately practically always committed by whites. Let's ultra-criminalize it. Round up everybody. Grab the assailant and grab his parents. Matt's like, oh, hell no, this sets a terrible precedent. This is awful. So he's stuck between the rock and the hard place because he doesn't want to argue in favor of black people, but at the same time, it's like, whoa, okay, well, whatever you're prescribing for us, you need to prescribe for them. So he's just asking all these weird-ass questions. Well, what about the gangbangers and the armed robbers and the inner city and the parents of these people in the inner city? Did I mention inner city? What about them? And weren't they negligent or had tough home lives or whatever? I mean, I don't know what I'm saying, but what about them? So he can't say what he really wants to say, which is, wait a minute. White parents don't need to be targeted for what their children do because it can happen in the best of families. Now, the black folk, target them all year, but we don't target white parents. That's not what we do. We don't mass incarcerate white people. That's not what we do. We don't all in white people. We don't RICO white folk and parents like that. We don't do that. You're talking about mass incarcerating white people now. No, we don't do that. First order of business now, what about them Negroes? Dude, we ain't got nothing to do with this. We were literally not involved in any aspect of this, and yet we got drug into it. We got drug into it, even though it literally ain't got a damn thing to do with us. Except he wants to bring us into it so he can remind white people, now, if you ain't gonna treat black folks like that, but you've been treating black folk like that, so now you're just lying. Well, I mean, it don't matter. If you're not gonna round up the gangbangers and their parents, these are grown men. Round up their parents any damn way. Ethan Crumley is a minor. These are grown men. Round them up anyway. And if you're not, if you're not going to round them up, this isn't even the same thing, sir. Shut up, I'm white and I say so. Boy, I mean, Matt was having hell.
And it's the kind of parent, it's like very easy. You can see the way the child's parented, and you go, well, like, yeah, of course, that kid's going to end up being a criminal. And yet we never go back to the parents and charge them when the inevitable occurs. Even though Crumblies, yes, partially their fault. I agree. 90% of violent criminals in prison right now, it's also partially the fault of the parents. So I don't see how we justify only charging these parents and not all of the others who are at least just as culpable.
So he wants to change the subject off of the white parents and throw out all these code words for what? I mean, we've already mass incarcerated black folk here, but I mean, if we didn't lock up their parents for this. Well, no, you got them in concentrated pockets of poverty, and a lot of them have done jail sentences already, so you've actually already targeted them. The school to prison pipeline is flowing like the Alaska oil pipelines, and boy, just for this one case, understand something, in a white supremacist system, they are ultra sensitive to changes that negatively impact them. Black folks sit around and wait until damn tanks are sitting outside and Bull Connor is screaming through the bullhorn and everything else. We wait until then. White society doesn't do that. The moment that they feel their grip on power may be slipping. I didn't say it is slipping. Might be slipping. Oh, they take corrective measures. They get up. They're ultra vigilant. They start talking. They let everybody know, oh, wait a minute. If the slightest change begins to develop and occur, the slightest. As I started off from the beginning saying, what you see on your screen, that's what they're trying to avoid. They don't want that to become the image of irresponsible, negligent parenting. They have worked for decades, centuries now, to make it in your minds that there's only one image of irresponsible or negligent parenting. Now you're going to court and codifying under law. Under law, something setting a precedent that will disproportionately impact white families. And I'm talking about the statistics of numbers. If you treat all these mass shootings the same way, you're going to be rounding up a lot of white folk. And do you really want that to become the image? Do you want that to become where we are? Do you want that to become where we're at? He's trying to get the white folk prepared and let them know, hey, what are y'all doing over there? What are y'all doing? When they send these dog whistles, they're letting you know, hey, man, there's a damn problem. There's a damn problem. No, we're not going to wait until they arrest 50 of them. You stop them right now. And the first thing they start doing is trying to drag us into it. We have a right to be reckless parents in white society. And if you're going to do something to us, you need to do 5 times as much to black people. That's the point. You cannot treat us equally. You're already targeting black people. But if you're going to do something that's more stringent on us and more strict on us, you better buckle down on the black folk even more. He doesn't talk about anything he doesn't talk about crime in general. What about the gangbangers in the inner city? What about the gangbangers in the inner city? They know what the hell they're doing here. They know what the hell they're doing. Other folk don't talk about these things. They don't analyze these things. I watch this. When I see these cases occur, I want to see how we're going to be treated. I want to see how it's going to go. I want to see what the commentary is. Because these folks, when they get this concerned about that, they're letting you know, oh man, there's trouble. There's trouble. When you got news outlets saying, by the way, this sets a precedent. What could this mean going forward? What does this mean going forward? So you see more than one outlet saying that? You see more than one outlet saying that? More than one outlet bring up, what does this mean going forward? Folks, this is the coalescing of the getting on code. When you see more than one outlet asking, what does this mean going forward? They're sending a signal to everyone else. Hey, we know y'all upset about what the boy did. We get that. But now y'all doing too much. Yeah. We know he shot up a classroom. We get that. But don't you understand? You are opening a door. A door that targets us. Who cares if we're guilty? Who cares if it's right? Who cares if we've been doing the Negroes? You're opening a door that targets us. And that's not what we do. We don't open doors that make crimes that are going to specifically target us. You decriminalize white people. You don't criminalize white people, and you damn sure don't mass incarcerate us. You're supposed to be making sure we free. You start doing this, and next thing you know, you go everywhere and away you go. No. Back up off of that. Yeah, we know you upset, but y'all better think this over. Now, mark my words, if this continues, and I'm not optimistic that it will, but if this continues, because there's going to be political blowback on the prosecutors and judges and everybody else, but if it continues, what they're going to do is they're going to start warning white people that if you're going to see these news outlets and the Matt Walshes and the rest of them start putting out stories warning white people that if this kind of thing continues, then they will criminalize white people in more ways. Then they're going to start saying, well, they're criminalizing white people in ways they're not criminalizing black people. Why aren't you locking all of them up? So if they keep this up, just mark my words, they're going to start telling white folk, well, if you continue this, they'll find other things to criminalize us for. There will be other things. So you better stop that, because otherwise there could be other things. Why, who knows where it'll stop? Now, that's the optimistic scenario. Let's talk about the realistic scenario. The realistic scenario is actually that we will see this accelerate, but they will try to use it against black folk. You'll see this happen. The prosecutors will show up. The white mass shooters will be allowed to kill at will. You're going to see them, however, talking about, well, we're going to drag more black folk in now. So mark my words, if this continues, what they're going to do is what Matt Walsh was just sending the dog whistle to do. Wait a minute. If you're going to use the courts in this way, you're supposed to be using it to target black people. So if you're going to arrest some parents, you need to arrest some black folk. As a matter of fact, don't just arrest them for the things that the minors did. Why don't you go arrest them for what grown men did? Yeah, just criminalize everything. Go ahead and round them up. So just understand, when you read all the dog whistles, listen to all the dog whistles he was sitting there, in my opinion, ultimately, that's the next one. If they continue going. They're going to tell you, we need to go round up more black folk. Okay, keep doing what you just did in Michigan there with the Crumleys, but next time, go after a bunch of black folk. Round all of them up. Okay, they're not shooting up the schools. That's okay. All those phony crimes we're putting on them, go ahead and arrest them for that, and then go grab the parents. See, we got everybody. So mark my words, that's where that's going. If they continue. If they continue, it'll be weaponized against us even more than it already is. Even more than it already is. However, you might disagree. Therefore, the telephone lines are now open. And the number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Your personal access code to the Blackest Radio program in existence, the only one of its kind on planet Earth today. As always, you are welcome to join us. Want to send a big shout out here to my man, Mr. Richburg. Thank you very much for your support, brother. I appreciate that. Also, Mark B., Walter, Najee, Janice, and Andrew, and everybody else who has supported tonight's program on PayPal, on Venmo. Thank you very much for your support. We're going to go ahead and take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When we come back, your phone calls and more. This is the Black Channel.
My name is Steve Burgess. I'm the author of this book, Guidelines for the Successful Student, a closer look at parenting your school-age child. In this book, I've explained the role of the parent and the student, in addition to what accommodations, procedures, rewards and consequences, and expectations that need to be in place to ensure student success from primary to high school. This book is available on Amazon.com. For more information, please visit my link tree at Easy101. And to access my latest podcast, A Teaching Moment in Mr. B. Thank you all for listening.
A white supremacist assassin seeks revenge. Corrupt FBI agents with evil intentions. Dangerous black collaborators dedicated to treason. Occam Jeffers must defeat them all and somehow survive. One misstep and he's a dead man. Join Occam Jeffers as he looks the devil in his blue eyes and tells him, Black First. A sequel to the underground hit War of the Heart, Spirit of 1811 Publishing presents God Love Us, on sale at Amazon. Pre-order and save today. Visit spiritOf1811publishing.com and show your love.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' natural body butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com. Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slavery and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening. And the telephone lines are now open. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Your personal access code to the Blackest Radio program in existence, the only one of its kind on planet Earth today. And as always, you are welcome to join us. I decided on tonight's program here, I want to focus on the sentencing of Jennifer Crumley. As you all remember, her son, 15-year-old Ethan Crumley, walked off into a classroom, gunned down 4 classmates, tried to kill a bunch of others there. He was caught, he was sentenced, but they grabbed both of his parents. Remember, they were making jokes with him. They provided the gun. They were were warned that the boy was showing some bad tendencies. They said, too bad, we gotta go to work. Left him here at the school, and next thing you know, as soon as they left, the rampage begins. But there are some folks out there who find that sentencing his parents, they've just sentenced his mother for manslaughter in this case. So basically, they're saying she was like an accessory to it. They sentenced her to it. Now folks are wringing their hands and saying, wait a minute now, wait a minute. How are you going to expand it? You're using white people to expand the criminal statute? What about the Negro? What about the Negro gangbangers? And what about the inner city? So all of a sudden we get drug into it. But you can go ahead and register your thoughts on the matter here. The phone lines are open. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Let's go ahead and get the telephone lines. Caller from area code 425. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, Jason. My name is Victor from the Philly area.
Okay, Victor from Philadelphia. What's on your mind?
This is my first time calling in, sir, and I absolutely love your channel. Solid. I did check out the crumbling thing, and I'm glad that they got the parents. And you're right, they're going to come after black people, of course. But I wanted to ask you one quick question. Did you happen to see that Tucker Carlson and Putin interview?
Yes, I saw it.
I don't know about you, but I figured. I know it's not the crumbling thing, but for me it was mind-blowing because he talked about Nazism and he gave Ukraine as an example of how they idolize their people who are ultimately racist as hell. I don't know if a lot of people on your channel have seen something like that to where even the U.S. is very much Nazified in a way. And I see it every day that we are under attack 24/7.
Okay, well, yeah, but here's the issue. The issue is you got plenty of white supremacists running around Russia. You got plenty of them there. So for Vladimir Putin to try to give the rationale about that, I mean, if he's worried about white supremacists, he can find them all around the Kremlin. If that's what he's looking for. Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Let's stay on topic here, folks. And we don't want to go into just general conversation, so let's stay on topic here. Let me get a call from area code 206. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, good evening. This is Agnes calling from Seattle, Washington.
Agnes from Seattle. What's on your mind?
Hi. Excellent analysis about the Crumley case. I do believe that now the criminal justice system will drop martial law on us because, like you said, if they're piling on white people, they're going to dump on us. Simply put, Kamala Harris built her entire legal career doing the very same thing in Oakland during the 90s and the 2000s. So there's precedent right there, or vice precedent. And then the nerve of Matt Walsh, piece of trash, to even, send dog whistles trying to white-splain or mass-splain his way out of the obvious. And for so long, white privilege or genetic immunity from law has allowed, stone-cold killers and their kids, their spawn, to get away with literal murder. Now there's some accountability, and it is politically motivated. I believe that the current administration is trying to set an example or make an example out of white people to convince black people that there's some semblance of justice, when we know that that's not, and that things will go back to business as usual.
Well, I mean, what he was doing here is, if you want to get off the hook, what he's trying to do is to infer that black people are getting preferential treatment. So you can't do this to white folk because, you're giving black people a pass, which ain't nobody gave us a pass for a damn thing ever. So the way you galvanize support is to make a racist statement, and black folk are getting preferential treatment. We can't have that now, can we? So now he's a bunch of school shooters, and we've always warned you, hey, look, at the end of the day, they're going to tell you there shouldn't be any limits on them. None. There just shouldn't be any limits. No matter how bad it gets, how terrible it gets, the bottom line is, what good is whiteness if we don't have our privilege? What good is it?
Exactly. And to that point, there have not been any black mass shooters. I mean, you don't have any black children going around shooting up schools at all, not mass killings. And especially, there are not any black children whose parents give them firearms and shoot up the school and just walk away. Please, they would have called Child Protective Service at the hint of a parent giving a child anything that needs, any kind of weapon. So, yeah, with the white privilege thing and the signal boosting and the signaling to other whites, hey, we can't be doing this. Yeah, I totally get it. And it is politically motivated, indeed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a call tonight here. Let me get caller from area code 323. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, good evening, Brother Jason, Brother Elijah Cohen, out of Wheaton, Maryland.
All right, Brother Elijah, what's on your mind?
Hey, brother, I got a question. Now that we see this situation with this white woman catching a cold, and from what you just described, they're going to try to give us a pneumonia now. My question is, do you think we as FBA, or just black people, whoever's in this country, but mostly FBA, do you think now we got to be more on our toes behind this situation?
Well, you better be at this point right here, because you're looking at something here that is new. Now, I will say in that advent, it's new, but only because you're looking at white folk. So with somebody like Matt Walsh, who's been called to Capitol Hill and this, that, and the other, by him sounding this particular whistle, it's meant to galvanize white people to say, hey, look here, we need to go to work to make sure that if they're going to be targeting us, they need to target everybody. So ultimately what that's meant to do is to change the subject, to get the focus off of where it's supposed to be, and to once again use black people as the scapegoat, even though we have literally nothing to do with it, nothing at all. So this is about gearing up yet another way, and another weaponizing something else against. That's the idea, because they've already been going after us for this kind of stuff. But now it's like, okay, well, now that y'all even think about this, no, just change the subject. Get on them Negroes over there. Get on them.
Brother, let me ask you, I didn't hear too much. Maybe you have more knowledge about this situation. Was there a low-key racial element to this mass shooting, like the mass shootings of the past? Was there a racial element to this?
Well, I mean, you're talking about the Ethan Crumley case and the others like it nowadays?
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole point that we keep bringing up. The whole point we keep bringing up, him and Peyton Gendron and all the others. You can go back over my YouTube channels here and the TBA channel, which is where we covered most of that when all that was happening here during the pandemic. What you're noticing here is, see, here's the subject they don't want to have to deal with. And let me tell you all something there. You've got some folks out there who are just think of themselves as smart, and they're not, like Mark Lamont Schill and Michael Eric Dyson. None of them are visionaries. None of them are even competent. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing was an eminently competent mental health professional. Inherently competent. When she went on the Donahue program, and you know me, I don't give out praise easily, but this woman was so incredibly insightful. She told you what the issue was. She said the problem is that white people are afraid of genetic annihilation. And just like when you're dealing with the 5 stages of grief, just like when you're dealing with folks to get them to accept the idea that human beings don't live forever, that you eventually do die, that that's part of mental health counseling is for folks to come to accept that kind of thing. We've got to deal with a white society that is afraid. They are afraid of being genetically annihilated. They are afraid of being bred out. They are afraid of losing control. They are afraid that the injustices and torment that they've inflicted on others will be inflicted on them, and that they are willing to go to murderous extremes to prevent that from occurring. Even if there's no evidence whatsoever that it's going to, the problem is they are afraid of it. So when she told Donahue so that is what we in the psychology profession and the mental health profession must grapple with, white people's phobias. She used the proper mental health terminology, white people's phobias and anxieties. And she was one of the first people to talk about, we are in real danger if we don't take a look at this. Because what we've been doing here is pretending that white people are perfect. That when you talk about mental health counseling, that's for the crazy niggas. And meanwhile, there is a prominent mental health crisis that has been going unaddressed in white society now for at least decades and probably centuries, but certainly acutely in the last 6 decades since that stranglehold on us has been forced to be loosened. And it expresses itself in many different ways. Pedophilia, most nobly though, mass killing, whether it's Charles Manson or any of the others going forward. When you start looking at them and you start getting their racial views, you start seeing a similarity of patterns forming there. Timothy McVeigh, Klebold Harris. When you're talking about the greatest, biggest killings in this country, there's a reason why we in the new black media have always documented them, because we were making a trail of these things. Now, the white corporate media has tried to pretend that it wasn't there, to the point that now they've gone to work to make sure that even when these people have a manifesto where they're specifically saying, yeah, and the problem is niggas, they go to work and say, okay, suppress that. Don't put that out. Don't print the manifesto. Why? You don't want us to hear that this is not about guns, it's about white supremacy? You don't want us to get into that, because when you say that the problem isn't guns, the problem is white supremacy, then the next question becomes, okay, then what do you do about it? Well, you get to work. All the things that Ron DeSantis is trying to fight today. Well, there are no bad white people, and white people have always done good, and anything else is negative towards us. And you can't say anything negative about white folk here, so we don't need to talk about slavery. And what I'm saying is the whole reason for that is to deny the problem exists. That we're perfect.
Yes, sir.
Because if you say that there is a problem, then by definition you have to do something about it. Well, you can't leave somebody in a position of privilege who's got a problem. You can't do that. And you can't remain in a system that is inherently flawed because they got a problem. You can't do that either. So what you're really doing is when you confront this mental health issue, then what you come to is the conclusion that the system got to come down. It is inherently flawed, it is inherently evil, and it is inherently dangerous to everybody, because in their neuroses, what they're doing is they're striking out at the people closest to them. So they may have a phobia of black people, but they're striking out at the people closest to them is their expression of their hostility. That's what generally happens. Now, every once in a while, you have a Peyton Gendron who gets his courage up and tries to go with black folk, but he goes to soft targets. Or you get a Dylan Roof who get his courage up and go sneak in someplace and go kill some little old elderly people. But as a group, that's technically what they do. That Breivik fellow, what did he do in Norway? Gun down dozens of white people. And he's upset with black folk, but he's surrounded by white people, but he needed to express his hostility. So he guns down a bunch of white folk. And we see this pattern over and over again. So they're hostile towards us, but they can't get at us, so they're going to strike at whoever is nearest to them. Now, when you start saying that that's what it is, then you obviously like, okay, we got to do something about this. What are we going to physically do about this threat? And Matt Walsh and friends are like, yeah, and that's the conversation we cannot have. So ain't no problem. And if you looking at us, we're gonna tell you, look at them niggas over there. I'll let you have the last word.
Yes, sir. Hey, brother. Thank you, brother. No, excellent explanation. I got one question to what you just explained. When they have all these phobias, it's a little baffling. Aren't they supposed to be more segregated? because they're afraid of the genetic annihilation of Queen Mother, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing talked to us about. They're supposed to be more segregated. Why do we see the rise of these interracial relationships, marriage, if that's the case?
I mean, but that's the part. It's a duality to it there. So on the one hand, they want to engage in conquest. So as Brother Neely Fuller said, the 5 areas of human activity, and or whatever the number is for human activity, and so they're engaging in sexuality, but it's an act of dominance once again. It's an act of dominance, which is why, Brother Neely Fuller told us that, you hop into bed with them and you come out confused. She hops out of bed with you and she doesn't get out confused. She can get out of bed and still go back to practicing white supremacy. You get out of bed with her and you start saying, okay, I've been accepted. And you don't understand it's an act of dominance. This is an act of dominance that's going on, so you can't sit up here and be deceived about that. So the sexual aspect of it, that's what he was saying, and he was correct about that. He said the 9 areas of human activity, you can't be deceived about that because you're taking a look at these activities the way you do among each other. And that's not their reason for coming over here. You see this in the so-called music and entertainment business. When we create a genre, everybody's getting along, it's harmony, it's justice in the universe, and then they bring somebody over here, and their goal is not to participate with us, it's to dominate us. So when they get done, all of a sudden we're all gone. Now that's not healthy, constructive interaction, that's dominance. So yes, you have an entire society that is afraid and is gripped by a neuroses, and in some cases a psychosis, gripped by an anxiety. So they're very afraid of that outcome, but at the same time they know that sitting still is not an answer. Well, Jason, why is that not an answer? Why can't they just go off in their enclaves? Because first of all, the politics will go against them. What the lesson they learned for the last 6 decades was that even if we all go off into our gated communities, the numbers of them Negroes are growing. Whether we interact with them or not. Their numbers are continuing to grow, whether we ignore them or whether we don't. So you have a good number of them who say we ignore this black threat at our peril. Even if we're not thinking about them, their numbers growing constitute an ever-escalating threat, period. So whether we're dating them or otherwise, that's what it does. So you see, you don't have, so you're caught up in that duality where on the one hand, you want to ignore them, but on the other hand, there's a threat to doing so. There's a clear and present threat. So they're caught in the middle of that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get a caller from area code 773. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Miss P in Chicago.
Hi, Miss P in Chicago. What's on your mind?
Well, Jason, I was listening to you, and it was just interesting to hear that man come up with all those what you call weasel words to turn that situation to point to direct, to imply of black people. He said, no fathers in the home, mothers, single mothers, like you said, then he said the gangbangers and all of that, just to turn that situation with these white people in Michigan around to imply something that should be done to black people. And you also made a statement about they'll have to come up with a plan or do something. They're already doing something like that in Washington, D.C. There's a Bowser-Pinto plan. That's a horrible thing. It's got steps to it. All the evil things they're going to do. And, of course, just like the stop and frisk and all that is going to target black people. Everything they do, it targets black people. So, again, this man is just trying to twist it around to imply everything, again, to black people. And they are already doing something, again, to take black people's rights away and charge them, from wearing a hoodie, a mask, everything. So this guy just talking about this child killing somebody. I had a family member, he provided a gun years ago. He did 19 years in prison. He was about 18 or 19 when it happened. He supplied the gun, and they gave him life. He got out maybe a few years ago.
And meanwhile, Kyle Rittenhouse's friend, who illegally obtained the gun for him, both the state and the federal government, shout out Joe Biden, both the states and the federal government said, yeah, let him ride. And we ain't worried about that. All of a sudden, the straw man gun purchase laws, all of a sudden, and we ain't worried about that.
Right. Now, how many black people do you think teenagers can walk with a AR-45 or whatever that gun was down the street waving his hand and the police greeted him in? It was just deplorable the way he was treated, the way they didn't charge him with anything. They let him go, and that phony crime that he did on the when he was on the stand. It just go to show you if black people don't see what's happening, I don't know what else to do. But this man clearly, just listening to him, I mean, where is he going with, he was, and like you said, he was very particular in what he was saying and how he was saying it, because he didn't want to just blatantly say, what about the black people that commit crime? So he's going to go and talk about the people that, if they're in prison, and, like you say, what is it he wanted them to do? Arrest their aging parents of adults? This kid was 15 years old. How many black people are giving their kids guns? None. If your kid is doing something, you're not aware of that, and you certainly aren't going to buy a gun and leave it in the home unprotected with bullets, and then the kid goes out and do something that you don't want to be responsible, even after the school called them to let them know he was having a problem. They just totally ignored it. So I want to see the sentencing of the mother and the father, as well as this kid, how much time are they going to give him? Because he clearly has a mental problem and he should never be released. But, of course, they don't keep white folks in prison forever for doing things. So it's just, like I said, it's just more things to do. But like I said, you can check into the browser Pinto plan in Washington, D.C. This is a black woman and a white woman come up with this plan. You should read the steps to it. It's just astounding the things that they're going to do with this plan that's going to directly impact black people. So
keep your eyes and your ears open. Thank you very much for giving us a call.
Yes.
Let me get a caller from area code 701. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, this is Ray calling from Fargo, North Dakota.
Ray, you're from Fargo. What's on your mind?
Oh, man, I am so glad you covered this. I didn't get to listen to the first half because I was working on my break. I did want to call in because, this punishment, I'm glad. I'm glad that this is happening because, when it comes to our kids doing something, if it makes the national news, everything about us, they slander us, they talk about the fatherless homes, they talk about the mother's father, like the little boy that went into at the zoo. And he was behind the fence with the.
Yeah, you're talking about the Harambe. You're talking about the Harambe incidents there.
Yeah. They tore the family apart, but it wasn't until this actual trial that we found out that the mother had a side boyfriend who had been messaging with the mother, and he was saying that they knew that the boy was going to do something. So I'm glad that this happened. And another thing, that I wanted to touch on is, what do you think as far as when they say we are always punished for the things that we do? We're always punished. I think it's good that now they need to sit down and have talks with their kids, like we have had to have talks with our children about, like the Trayvon Martin situation. About when you're stopped by the police, putting your hands on the dashboard, making sure that you have all of your stuff out. We've had to have talks with our kids. There's no need to act like black people as a whole just don't have any sort of class and decency about our ourselves to where our children are out randomly killing or, taking the life of classmates just because they're mad because of something that someone else is bullying. Yeah, if someone's bullying one of our kids and we do have a shooting in a school or something happens, I'm not condoning violence in the school, outside of it. But most of the time, our things are targeted to one person, one situation, and like I said, I'm not condoning violence. But at the same time, these are the conditions when you do have situations like that, when you do have things happening in the hood, those are conditions that just
Well, it's going to be hard to do that, though. It's going to be hard for them to execute this in that way because on the one hand, white must mean free. It must mean privileged. And at the same time, you are confronted by the inescapable reality that you must implement some sort of controls. And worst of all, you don't have black people that you can plausibly blame for it and drag into it and use as the scapegoat. You don't really have that option. So I would suggest to you that you're in a no-win situation. You're either going to maintain white privilege or you're going to sacrifice it on the altar. And if history's taught us anything, it's most likely going to win out. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Let me get caller Miracle 773. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello, this is Brent. I'm calling from Chicago.
All right, Brent from Chicago. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I was calling Jason because I agree 100%. This is just another case of the white man moving the goalposts with the information that they have to benefit white society. Actually, there was a killer in Joliet. His girlfriend got locked up literally the next day after she did it. So just to see the white woman go through the same thing, they double down on us way faster than they do it. They give them 1,000 chances before they really have to do something. And I'm glad that you're presenting this information and I'm spreading it as much as I can.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're ultra sensitive to it. For us, we wait till they get us way down the road and they got 50 laws. For these folks here, the instant that something isn't going their way, the very first time it doesn't happen, they grab and start ringing every alarm bell known to man to let everybody know, hey, this ain't supposed to happen. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get caller Miracle 804. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
I'm sorry, this is Cassie Roan here, Rikers, Virginia. Hello.
Okay, Kathy, I'm glad your CPAP machine cycled over. What's on your mind?
I don't have a CPAP. I have very bad sinuses. Now that I'm retired, I can research things, right? So I went back and I looked. You were talking about the psychology of different things about them. Well, when they came from the mountains, they came from there because they were hated already. This behavior goes centuries back. This is not something that just happened overnight with these people. What happened was they had Christianity on one side, they had Muslims on the other side, and each group wanted them to join. They didn't want to join either one because they didn't want. It was a strategy for them, so they became Jewish. So what happened was they would.
Okay, Kathy, I think we're a little bit off topic here, but thank you very much. Yeah, I think we're a little off topic there. It's the gas from the CPAP machine, y'all. Sometimes it makes them a little lightheaded. Oh, what are we talking about dancing? Oh, one more thing here. Charlie Brown. I get it. It's no problem. Usually she's pretty good, but I'm just like, I get it tonight. Tonight's an albuterol night. Caller from Air Code 502. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, how you doing? My name is Alex. I'm calling from Purple.
Okay, if you're on speakerphone or something, you need to come off of it. Your audio is going in and out.
Okay, sorry about that. Can you hear me okay?
Okay, what is your name? Where you calling from?
My name is Alex. I'm calling from Arizona.
Okay, where at in Arizona?
Phoenix.
All right, Alex from Phoenix, what's on your mind?
Hey, so first time caller, I just wanted to chime in just a little bit about this thing. So I remember having a 3-hour conversation with this white woman a little bit back, and I got a glimpse into white psychology from that conversation. In it, I learned that, you know, from birth, they're taught that they can never be wrong, ever. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that dude from the Boondocks. We said, you know, we're Americans. We don't do the wrong thing because it's wrong. We keep doing the wrong thing until it turns out right. That kind of thing. It's instilled in them much like the halo effect for women. So in the conversation, she explained to me how she has a visceral and physical and mental response to me just telling her she was wrong about something, and she had to constantly tell herself that I wasn't attacking her. And I think what we're seeing here is a similar situation with Matt Walsh having the same kind of reaction from seeing consequences being imposed on action for white folks. What we're seeing is a visceral response to the result of his cognitive dissonance, really.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, you're looking at a high profile. There are levels to this. It's a high profile case. Memories are very long. It's a very black and white issue. You can't just sweep it under the rug. They got the shooter, but now you're saying, okay, that's not enough. And if it was a black family, it was a black kid, that would be different if they said it's not enough. Matt would have never paid this any attention, as I've already proven that he didn't. When it's black folk and they say that's not enough, that doesn't get any attention. But now what they're showing is that he meant what he said in the title of the video. The title of his video is "This court case has set a new precedent not yet seen in American history." Well, I mean, as far as white folk are concerned, it's new for white people, not for us, but for them. So there's levels to this. He's worried about the optics of it. He's worried that if enough people get in line with this and disregard the whiteness factor, then this becomes the new way of dealing with this. And that every time you see a mass shooting, they're going to go collect the kid, then they're going to go collect his parents. Now, if they were black, this would not bother him, as it hasn't in the past. So he knows how you set precedents. There are several things you have to get over. Remember, when they go at us, what's the first thing you do? Demonize them, attack their character. Character assassination, demonization, that's what makes it easy to set them up to do whatever you want to do to them after that. Once you demonize them in the eyes of the public, now you can do whatever you want to do. Well, with the Crumleys and these other folk, they come pre-demonized. Up until now, you haven't done anything with that demonization. Now he sees the next shoe has fallen. The next domino has fallen. Now they're acting on it. So when you consider that, okay, you all are making them the face of it. You're demonizing a whole white family. And you know there will be others. You know there will be more, and you know there will be others. So he's not worried about them. He's worried about all the others that will come. That's why he's saying this sets a precedent. He's thinking about, okay, but what about the next one? Oh, we'll come get him and then collect the parents too. And even if we don't get the shooter, we'll still go collect the parents anyway. So wait, hold on. So he sees all of that and how this forecasts and projects into the future. Please keep in mind that future. That's what he's scared of. What's going to happen going forward? He's terrified.
Agreed. I think also to your point about the whole demonization thing, I have waged a war, so to speak, on the whole issue of propaganda and how it can be used as a powerful tool or a weapon depending on who's wielding it. And like you said, he clearly sees what it's like to have the tables turned because it's never been laser focused on white people as far as what they have done historically. Like, yeah, the history books are written, but it's often the victors who write the stories. You see what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, look. Once again, I've been teaching you all this now going on over a decade and a half. They have no problem acknowledging racism exists so long as you ain't gonna do nothing about it. I had to teach people about this before. They don't want to talk about racism. They don't want to talk about racism. Oh, what are you talking about? They got movies, TV shows, the Jeffersons. They have absolutely no problem discussing racism and all of its nuances, slavery, how terrible it is, and all of its nuances, unless you're going to do something about it. What do you know? For the last 150 years, while we weren't doing something about it, they taught slavery. That was never controversial. They taught it. Hell, they bragged on it. They built statues to the men who implemented it. The Ku Klux Klan and the rest of them. They had no problem doing that. It wasn't until in the last 5-10 years we started doing something about it. Now, all of a sudden, okay, stop teaching slavery. Well, wait a minute. For the last 150 years was cool. Yeah, you're doing something about it. We're going to stop now. Which is why I've always told you all, they have no problem discussing these things in all of their gruesome details, just so long as nothing's going to actually change. Now that you're talking about there will be change, there will be differences, your kids go to school, we come and see you, we going to send some folks to come see you? Oh, wait a minute, no, you're supposed to listen to Negroes, not us. Not us, and he's worried about what this can mean going forward. Remember, the judicial precedent in this country has been that you don't have to say black, you just take a look at anything black folk do and criminalize that. Well, now you can't do that here. And if you set the precedent that this is what we do about these things, and everybody's worried about their kids getting shot up in school, well, then that puts the pressure on you that you must continue doing this. If for nothing else, to see how it works out. You must continue doing this, which means, in other words, that this will continue into the future. Well, if you're some of these folks are like, hey, look, we got to do something about this, and then the Matt Walshes are like, wait a minute, you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. That white privilege egg, we got to break it. We got to make an omelet here. So it's like, hey, you got to take the good with the bad. It's certainly not great parents, but what y'all talking about doing is targeting us. So once again, it doesn't matter who you're talking about. You can go find your most hardcore right-wing Republican, Fox News viewer or whatever. None of them are up in arms about the opioid crisis. They're upset about the opioid crisis, but none of them are trying to lock up white folk, and none of them are upset because you're treating it as a, quote, public health issue. Nothing like what we had in the 80s and the 90s. When they had militant tactics against the drugs they sent in the black community, they used militant tactics. Now it's time to use militant tactics with white folk. Oh, ain't no military showing up now. It's just going to be doctors and social workers. We'll be damned if you're going to mass incarcerate us. So we don't care if there's white folks standing around semi-conscious on every street corner in Maine. They will be there. We ain't going to mass incarcerate. Well, okay, what about the school shootings? Well, gotta break a few eggs and make an omelet. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. As I said from the outset of the program here, is right when it's time to show up and start mass incarcerating people. Okay, we're going to mass incarcerate you for a crime that your people disproportionately participate in. All of a sudden, wait now. You can't do all that. Let's think this over. What about the Negroes? We ain't got nothing to do with that. Yeah, but what about them now? Why don't we focus on you? No, but what about you? Call America 704. You're on live. The Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name is Oliver calling from Rock Hill, South Carolina. Thank you, sir.
Oliver from Rock Hill. What's on your mind?
I was just looking at the financial part of it. Once they start this process, they're going to tweak it, they're going to bend it, so when it hits us black people, our kids get into a situation, someone get killed by a firearm, they're going to say go after the kid, the parent, and also the financial part of it. That's something where you can't go to jail for free. Somebody's going to pay for it. So whatever equity you have, home, land, whatever the case may be,
very good point.
That's all going to be drained. And that's going to leave the rest of the family members there. So if you had a family member that didn't do the crime, the parent is a legal gun owner, you took everything from them. They have nothing to protect. They just out to the wolves. And it's going to get nasty.
You make a very good point that if they give you, that's why Matt would be concerned about this, is if they give these people the Bill Cosby treatment, that, okay, your kids committed this crime, now we're going to sue you or go after you. We can get you put in jail, which makes it easier to get a civil judgment against you. Oh, we can start snatching generational wealth here. We sure can. So that's a very good point you make. This opens up a whole new can of worms. I can see why Matt would be very disturbed at the possibility of that.
But hold on, you forgot one more extra piece. When you're on probation, you have to pay. Some people are paying $40 a week. I mean, $40 a day. That's a lot of money. When you come out of jail, you don't have no means to make money, so you're going right back in the system again. So you just loop in the cycle over and over. And they're going to put it towards black people. They're going to start with us in the worst way. So black people, we need to watch out. We need to start educating our people, put our foot down, and stop going with all this trying to be all nice and stuff. We got to go back to the old school method to save our people. Thank you very much, Mr.
Carlson. He makes a very good point, man. He makes a very good point there. Wow, this could open up financial liability here, and ain't nobody gonna be on your side. So forget civil asset forfeiture. This would be civil asset forfeiture on rocket fuel. Oh boy, you could walk in and wipe out whole fortunes under the right circumstances. Call from Air Code 216. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yes, hi. This is Donna from Cleveland.
Donna from Cleveland. What's on your mind?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that white supremacy in this day and age is a highly sophisticated sport. I say this because it's in all our hospitals, our schools, the politics, the political arena. It's a sport. When their children is looking under the Christmas tree, we might have a train set, but they're looking and receiving a gun. They're receiving a gun so they can weaponize and use it someday if they have to. So I'm saying all this because white supremacy, just like Dr. Cressing said, she told us specifically, she told us and let us know then that it was a sickness and an illness. And if we can't get that understanding in this day and age, we are in trouble because that's what we're dealing with.
Well, I definitely think that we have that understanding of it here. I think that as black folk, we do, as a group, we understand that. The real thing is white society now is having to confront that reality. And the real question is, okay, now that you have to confront it, what are you going to do? I'll let you have the last word.
Absolutely. What are you going to do? So they're going to have to put up some sort of, number one, stay in code. Listen, if we know the code, and we need to have our own code. I'm going to say that right now. We need to be exercising our own code. You fight fire with fire.
Thank you very much for this call.
Thank you.
You know what? She makes a very good point here. As black people, we don't have a culture of buying your child a gun as a present. What? We don't have that. Don't tell me a damn thing about the inner city and this, that, and the other. We don't have a culture of buy your child a gun as a present. Hell, we don't really have a culture of taking your kids to the gun range. We don't have a culture of buy your child a weapon, a real functional weapon as a quote present. No, sir. That's not an inner city issue, Matt. That's not a gangbanger issue, Matt. Why are you trying to change the subject? Call from Air Code 617. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, it's Shell from Boston.
All right, Shell from Boston. What's on your mind?
Hi, I think this might be a gateway possibly to
You know how like a couple years ago they changed the definition of a mass shooting for the amount of people? So in other words, like in the inner city, if 2 or more people get shot, it's considered a mass shooting. And like it used to be only like schools, like maybe
right. As soon as people really started paying attention to it, the white media went to work to try to dilute the definition of it. So now they just are trying to include anything and everything. So once again, yes, every time it's time to focus on them, they go to work changing the subject. I told y'all before, if the English language begins to undermine white supremacy, they will say to hell with the English language. And that's exactly what you just articulated. Yes.
But is that now a law? Because I see that if they convict these people. Oh, okay.
No. I mean, as far as classifying it in that way, if that's what you're asking, no, there's no law for that. But it's just certainly something that they're using and saying.
Yeah, because I just wondered, like, will they start coming after the parents of, like, I'm just saying our ethnicity and saying that, okay, now we set a precedent, and they'll turn it around and say, well, we'll bring their parents to
oh, absolutely. I mean, that's what I've been saying the whole time tonight here is that it's going to go one of two ways. They're either going to just ignore this altogether, or they're going to try to weaponize it against us, which is what Matt is tapping on the shoulder to remind them, hey, if you're going to make that move, you got to make it against black folks. You don't make it against us. We don't give a damn how many of our kids shoot them schools. You only do these kind of draconian things to black people. And they're already doing it to us, by the way. They're already doing it to us.
Yes.
They're doing that right now. He's reminding them that they've taken their eye off the ball. That if you're getting ready to do, he's not so much. It bothers him about the sentencing, yeah. But what bothers Matt even more, and I have to beat this drum. What bothers him more are the visuals. The visuals of you turning on your TV and seeing a white woman march out in chains. Let me throw this up here on the screen because I want you all to see this again. This is the part that the Matt Walshes and their ilk have a problem with. The vision, the image. Take a look at your screens, everyone. The image of a white woman being marched out in chains. Now, here's the thing. I need to remind you of this. As black people, of course, obviously you can look at her and maybe she looks motherly or matronly. I'm just saying, but you don't have a, quote, mother in your family who looks like that. Blonde-headed, blue-eyed, the way she's dressed and things. That to you, that's not exactly it. But for the average white person listening, this is their auntie. This is their mom. She looks just like their aunt. She looks just like their mom. She looks just like their grandmom. She looks just like their sister. So they can identify with this on a level that you and I can't. And what Matt is saying is, do you want to normalize this? The way we did it with the Negroes? Do you want to normalize this? Because he knows once that train leaves the station, you won't be able to pull it back.
Well, I think the other point, one other point is that I just recently saw a YouTuber that actually goes to that place in Philadelphia where there's a street that has like every city has a multitude of opioid crisis, but I guess they're trying to pass a law that he cannot put certain ethnicities on YouTube that are part of that crisis, so that he can't film them anymore. Because it's violating the rights, the civil rights of some sort.
Well, I mean, it certainly could be here. I mean, there's been some YouTubers and stuff. They were filming people and stuff. You don't have their permission. You could find yourself in trouble with them, not with YouTube. Not with YouTube, but with the people in particular. So I have seen some cases where that occurred. But certainly where the opioid crisis is concerned, next thing you know, every time something comes up here, every time it's time to focus on the dominant society, and by the way, hey, time to clamp down, all of a sudden folks start beating the drum and saying, hey, you need to change that subject. What about black on black? What about them Negroes? What can we do to them? Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Everything comes down to how do you weaponize this against black people? Even when it's something that's got nothing to do with us, they will change the subject and say, yeah, but what about them black folk over there? Well, sir, we're not even, no, they're not even a part of this right. Yeah, I know, but can we talk about them for a minute? No, are you psychotic? Yeah, but let's talk about them for a minute, then we'll get back over here. And Matt understands. You normalize this image that an otherwise harmless-looking white woman can be marched into court behind what her children have done with practices that are common. Buying your kids guns, taking them to the gun range, letting them do as they please, telling them that nothing they do is wrong. We're going to criminalize this now because it's like, wow, there's going to be a lot of folks in a lot of trouble if we're going to do this. Call from area code 608. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
So this is Mike Carter.
Okay, Mike, where are you calling from?
Wisconsin.
Mike, where are you calling from in Wisconsin? Okay, Mike, if you can't keep your phone still, I gotta let you go, brother. We'll try this one more time. Where are you calling from in Wisconsin?
Madison, Wisconsin.
All right, Mike in Madison, Wisconsin. What's on your mind?
I just had a quick question for you. Like, you seem like a very intellectual and intelligent brother, and I was just wondering, like, it's the year 2024. Why are we still considering ourselves as black when that's civilist truth in the eyes of the law?
Okay, you said, why do we consider ourselves as black and what?
I said, it's 2024 and we're still considering ourselves black when that's civilist truth in the eyes of the law, meaning a dead person.
Okay. Well, sir, we can use whatever title or name you wish to use. So which title or name, which title for us would you like to use, sir? You said what? Put the crack pipe down. You said what?
You could sell out those calling people black when that's colonial.
Okay, sir, what is the term you would like to use instead?
It's not what I would like to use, it's what we are. We more than black.
Okay, sir. Fourth time. What term would you like to use?
For the second time, Moorish American.
Okay, we are Moorish American. Now, what are we going to do about white supremacy, sir?
Claim our nationality and realize that black and white is a legal status and not an absolute. It has nothing to do with color.
How long were you in prison?
I've never been in prison in my life, sir.
Yes, you have.
How long have you ever?
Yes, sir. Sir, I can hear the handcuff bruises around your wrist now, sir. I can hear it now because this is silliness on parade. It doesn't matter what you call us. The only thing that matters is what you're going to do about white supremacy. Sir, you didn't say what we're going to do about white supremacy. You can call us whatever you want to. We'll agree with you. Now, what are we going to do? You didn't say a word about what you're going to do. You just circle back around. We'll just call ourselves this name. It's got magical powers. Shazam!
No, it's not. It's more than that. You got to educate yourself on law. Like, value a black law dictionary. And then you'll understand more.
Okay. Well, sir, I'm glad to see that your parole hearing worked out. So thank you very much for giving us a call here. This is what happens when, you've been locked down and you sit up here and have etymological wars as if you're winning something. Well, if we just all call ourselves the same name. So you saw, by the way, if you all want to know how to shut those kind of clowns down, I just showed you. Okay, whatever name you want to use, just tell me what you want to use. Okay, this name we need to use. Great. Now, what are we going to do about white supremacy? Well, we need to remember the name we call ourselves. This is how useless, impotent Negroes sit around, waste tons of time. He ain't gonna do nothing. You need to use a different name. Okay, use a different name. Now, what is that gonna help us do? Help us to understand. We already understood. Get the Black Laws Dictionary. We got the Black Laws Dictionary. Well, go ahead and get you a Britannica, Encyclopedia Britannica. Holds it. This is how powerless individuals respond to serious situations. They respond in a futile, powerless way. They sit here intellectually masturbating. Nothing he said changes anything, and certainly it doesn't do anything about white supremacy. I'm gonna go talk about other black people. Why are you calling yourself black? We is Moorish. Well, first of all, we are not all Moors. That's the first thing of epic ignorance. We're not all Moors or Moorish to begin with, but even if we were, fine. Now, how does this enhance our ability to defeat white supremacy? Oh, it don't, but I feel better if you do what I tell you to. Well, I feel better if you go and get rid of all that prison toilet tissue that you've been holding on to as a souvenir from your time at San Quentin. I feel better if you do that. What I need for you to do is to spend less time in front of that transparent television that you picked up from the California Department of Corrections. If you're going to pick up a Black's Law Dictionary, it's useless if you're not going to get a law degree. So instead of worrying about what we call ourselves, why don't you worry about what you call yourself? See, the problem is, I need a brother to die to the rest of you. Do you understand? Yeah, we ain't technically Moorish. What are we going to do about it here? I got my fizz. Want to see me twirl it? Swing, 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 swing. One of these days, we'll do a compilation of those things. They're all the powerless jailbird Negroes arguing over semantics. Do you know how pathetic you have to be in the year 2024 to be talking about semantics? You supposed to be worrying about them folk on the screen. I need the rest of you Negroes to get in line with me. Who the hell are you? My name is Bashir Allah Ahmed Rusev Hamalama Ding Dong. Okay. And Mr. Hamalama Ding Wong Ding Dong. Mr. Hamalama Ding Dong. This white supremacy thing, you need to get your vocabulary straight. What the hell is this? Reading Rainbow? That's the problem. You Negroes ain't serious about white supremacy. If you ain't calling yourself what I tell you to, then you ain't serious about white supremacy. That's the problem right there. You ain't serious about it. He must have been triggered as hell when he heard what they were talking about. Caller from area code 312. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Brother Zeb. I'm from Chicago, but I'm calling from Seattle.
Brother Zeb from Chicago. What's on your mind?
Yes. That brother, yeah. Now I see what you mean, brother, as far as the whole prison, that whole prison thing. But that whole, like you said, semantics, Black American freemen, we're better off saying, what they classified us as Negro than some goddamn, outer space ET terminology. But I had a question for you. When you alluded to Google owning, what did you really imply when you meant that Google got to cut the check too?
Well, because they are all these Silicon Valley corporations, they are all beneficiaries of the ill-gotten gains of America, and they've used it to invest it over and over again, and they have specifically targeted white people to enrich, and not just enrich them a little bit, they've made them fabulously rich, fabulously wealthy. All these alt-right white supremacists who they have political commentary that's specifically anti-black, and YouTube has made sure they have not thousands, not hundreds of thousands, millions of viewers from what's his name, Tim whatever his name was around with Joe Rogan, Steven Crowder, Matt Walsh. We can go down a long damn list of them. We can go down a long damn list of them that YouTube and the Google Corporation has specifically targeted to make sure that they get a big-ass, huge head start. They've got tons of money behind them. They're independently wealthy. And thus they're able to go ahead and have that cascading effect that is able to enrich other white folk here. So whether it is Google, Meta, Facebook, X, Twitter, you name it. All these companies are just half a stone's throw, not even a stone's throw, they are half an inch away from hardcore right-wing white supremacist ideologies. Elon Musk, hell, he's the guy who owns Twitter. And take a look at what he's done. So yeah, when we talk about cutting the check, when we talk about reparations across the board, I'm not just limiting this to the federal government nor state government. There's a bunch of private institutions and current new technology institutions who gonna have to break bread too.
Yes. So Jay, let me say this. I want to be long with it, but I want to clarify something. When I said prison, being in her did me good, I mean as far as from a Malcolm X mentality, being able to get out, being able to see things differently, and understanding that I don't have to resort to criminality. You know, and so that's that. And when you ask what are we doing out here, well, part of what I'm doing out here is being a civil slave. You know, so yeah,
brother, I did not ask what you're doing out there. I promise you, I did not do that. I'm sure you're doing good work. So thank you for calling me from the front seat of the car again. I appreciate that. He's just checking in with us here. So he's just, I don't want to turn this into convict night. I don't want to do that. So let me get called from area code 516. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from? Last try, call from area code 516. You're on live with the Black Channel. All right, call from area code 516 has been abducted. Hopefully somebody will find them out there somewhere. So if you see somebody, if you're in the 516 area code and you see somebody's feet sticking out the back of a 86 Buick, kicking furiously to get free, that might be the call from area code 516. So please contact emergency services. Just in case you spot that. Well, once again here, folks, like I say, when the line moves, it moves for business, it moves for war, and I just took tonight as my opportunity to go ahead and show you all that we are always in the crosshairs. We are always the target. Even in conversations and discussions that have zero to do with us, they're going to change the subject to talk about us. Because as far as they're concerned, what they're letting you know, what Matt Walsh just let you know, is that conversations about the prison system are supposed to be reserved for us. And conversations about expanding the scope of the criminal code is supposed to be limited to us. And the moment that they see that you are expanding that criminal code, especially in a manner that could specifically target white people, they're going to slam on the brakes and say, oh, hell no. You are not going to do that. The criminal code, any discussion of the criminal code, and certainly any discussion of expanding it, must be focused on and limited to black people. That's why we made it. We made the criminal code for them. We didn't make the criminal code for us. We made it for them. How dare you attempt to expand it? Let me get one more caller here. Caller from area code 954. You're on live with the Black Channel. What's your name? Where you calling from?
How you doing, Jason? This is Child of Ogun.
Okay, Child of Ogun, where are you calling from?
Miami, Florida.
All right, Child of Ogun from Miami. What's on your mind?
I just want to let the family know that when we see all of these things, we have to understand that we have to protect our children and teach our children appropriately, right? When you see these parents that have guns and all these things for their children, do these same things for your child and teach them appropriately. Sorry, I have to say, Jason.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. Take this as a warning here. Take this as a warning. Just understand, if they're talking about these things, that's a serious matter. They were talking about their society and then drug us into it to say, wait a minute, we're not doing enough to target them? Really? Take that seriously, because I certainly do. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. Before I go, let me go ahead and send a special thanks here to my man, Vinny. I know you hate it when I do that, brother. I understand that, but I wanted to say a special thank you. I appreciate that. Vinny V, thank you very much for your support tonight. And as always, so thank you very much. I appreciate that. Also to Mr. Burkett, thank you as well. And to everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal or Venmo, thank you very much for your support. And if you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend. Click that red subscribe button, click that yellow notification bell. Join us each and every time that we are here. If you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, you want to go and check out our groundbreaking, best-selling documentary work, 7 a.m., Gentrified Race War, all available on DVD and streaming. Go to blackchannelfilms.com. That is blackchannelfilms.com. Might be some changes here in the works coming as well, so I want all of you to be watching out for that. Who knows? Don't be surprised if I surprise you. I want to thank all of you for tuning in to tonight's program. Thank you for watching live or recorded. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.